store. Now, it's not just board games. We have some card games, some smaller games, some fun games. Well, all of them are fun games, or else we wouldn't have them, right? I tell you what, is this your first time here? It is. Well, welcome, first off, but it's very difficult when you're looking at these games to try to decide which game is for you. After all, just looking at them doesn't really tell you a whole lot about them. So why don't we do this? You got a few minutes? Okay. Why don't I show you and tell you about some of my favorite games throughout the last 30, 40 years and see if any of them would be of interest to you. Does that sound good? Awesome. Well, you actually caught me at a good moment. I was checking out the Monopoly games. See, whenever we get a game in, a retro game, a used game, we always make sure that we check to make sure the pieces are there and the playability is there. So Monopoly is a very interesting game. I'll tell you this, when I was a child, me and my sister could not play this game. It led to fights and led to arguments and led to hurt feelings. It is a game of ruthless capitalism where you are playing as a piece. This is Santa's. Oh no, this is just a money bag. That's just a money bag right there. And then of course you have the guy on the horse, the old cowboy. And people seem to like this one, the thimble. And this one I played every once in a while, the boot. So you take this, and to be honest with you, there's one piece that everyone always wanted, and it was the little mini schnauzer. So basically, you pick a piece and you roll the die, 2 die, and you go around a board, and when you land on something, it's either a property or it's a card. If it's a card, then it'll be either chance or it will be a community chest. A community chest usually gives you something in your benefit, and then chance, as the name would dictate, is typically something that's a little bit riskier. In this particular case, advance to the boardwalk. Now, that could be good, that could be bad, because the other person might own the boardwalk, and when you land on property, you have the opportunity to buy that property. But if the other person lands on it first and they buy it, you have to pay them rent. And you pay rent using all this money, this fake money. Like I said, it is a game of ruthless capital. And when you hit to a certain level, you can also put buildings, which makes it even more expensive if you land there. And checking for, make sure that all of the cards are here. So like, there's the boardwalk, here's the railroads, and Virginia Avenue, those kind of things. So, but Monopoly is a very interesting game, and it's not a game you necessarily want to play if you want to have friends. It gets heated, but it does teach you about some very serious life lessons and the ruthlessness of life. And speaking of that, we have a game right here called Life, and Life is a game that mimics life from the very beginning. You spin the wheel, and you can either, depending on what of life it is. You can either pick to go to college or start a job. Later on, when you pick your job, if it's one that you had to go to college for, you can't take it, and you go through, draw cards to pick pets, houses, land on paydays, that kind of stuff. Simulation of life. Very interesting. Now, Monopoly and Life are both so popular that there's been a lot of special editions, and now my personal favorite is the Monsters Inc. edition, which is just phenomenal. But this one that I have here is Star Wars, so pick and choose your Jedi and go through with that. But that is the Game of Life, and as you can see, it's on sale for $9, $8.99. But we can go up or down either direction. Battleship is a game where you place your ships. The other person doesn't know, and they have to guess and sink your ships before they sink yours, or sink their ships for. Yeah, I think I said that right. I don't know. Next, going up, we have a detective game, a Clue. This is something Scarlet, I think, right? And basically, you have to take turns. You go around looking for clues to solve this murder. Every room contains a clue. You go to each room, but you're racing against each other to figure out this murder. You have to go to the middle of the map when you find everything out and place your bet. If you're right, great. If not, well, it's not good. Then, of course, we have mind games, or really word games for the brain. I say mind games, that means something different, but we have Scrabble and crossword games, making words off of each other for points. And then, of course, we move up. We have Yahtzee. Yahtzee is everyone's favorite dice game, where you have these really loud, obnoxious plastic cups, and you take these 5 die and shake it up and slam them on the table. Well, you don't have to slam them, but if you're a true Yahtzee player, you do. And it's almost like bingo a little bit, where you have to pick a certain amount of die that are similar, and you can only pick it once. So 1 through 6, 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind. You are trying to pick and pick and choose to get the biggest number at the end. A little bit difficult. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, Uno, which has been done over and over and over again on every video game platform. Uno is the reverse card, the change of the colors. You play a blue 5, I'll play a yellow 5. Now we're playing yellows. It's kind of a child version of poker, to be honest. It's like, what do we do to get kids playing poker? Well, we give them Uno. So we have a just wonderful selection of board games right here, but I have some more over here as well. And just to show you, some of these games have been around for a long time, probably 30, 40, 50, maybe even more years. And we also like to carry some newer stuff as well. And we have one of these right here, and this is Bears versus Babies. And in Bears versus Babies, you are trying to create a Franken creature with different body parts, equating special power-ups. So, like you see right here, that this person created a bald eagle in a suit, and or it was also a taco, and then a Pomeranian who's in a suit. And it's an interesting but very confusing game, actually. But the same maker of this game also came out with one of, I think, the greatest games of all time. And it's said, these are not all board games, and this is not a board game. And this is actually the double pack, and the double pack has a extension kit. And the extension kit is an SFW, not safe for work kit. Let me show you a couple of these cards. So, the entire point of Exploding Kittens is to be the last one standing. It is very much similar to Russian roulette, and because of that, it can be a little stressful. So, every player starts off with 4 or 5 cards, depending on how you play, of course. And in some of these, you get things like skips that allow you to skip your turn. And in this particular one, it says go base jumping using a pair of old lady boobs. See, not safe for work, right? The second one, a beard cat. If you get 2 of these, you make a pair. That gets you something. You also have things like shy bladder cat. You have diffuse cards, which allow you, if you land on a bomb, these are your lifeline to where you're not out. You have shuffle cards. Shuffle cards allow you to shuffle the deck if you believe somebody screwed you over. And this one is a trans-dimensional litter box, materializes, and it says, when I go poo into the wormhole of 1,000 possibilities, it will break the known universe. Also, it will probably smell like poo. An astute observation. You also have things like nope cards. So if someone tries to play a card that is going to be bad for you, you can play the nope card, and it undoes their move. And that this is something that you would want to nope. This is an attack. And what an attack is it makes that next player have to draw twice, thereby increasing their odds of blowing up by 2. And what does that even look like? That looks like this. Exploding Kittens. This is an exploding kitten. This is the Russian roulette, or the cat equivalent of Russian roulette, where if you get one of these, you can play your diffuse card, put it anywhere in the deck, so you can put it on top if you want to mess with someone, or mix it in at random, but you get to put it in. However, if you don't have a diffuse card, you're done, you're out, you lost. So, it is a very, very fun, yet a very, very stressful game. It's not for the faint of heart. Next, I want to show you a game that, well, it was my mother's favorite game, and you can truly tell this is my personal copy, and it's been torn asunder because we played it and had so many good times together, and I miss those times quite a bit. So, let me show you what Rummikub is. Rummikub is a very, very old game. You get these tiles, and it's very similar to poker. You have a tray in front of you, and you collect tiles. You have so many starting out. You place it, you arrange it on your board. You can go once, you can make 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind. Now, what that means is 1, 2, 3, 4 of the same color. It could mean you have 3 different 13s in different colors. It could mean a whole lot of things. It could also mean that you have a wild card, and you're playing the wild card in there as well, which of course could be anything. The cool thing about Rummikub as well is you're able to play off of each other. So, however, you can achieve the final goal, and the final goal is to clear your board. Whoever clears their board wins. And you can do that through whatever means. If that means playing off of your opponent's numbers and cubes that are down, so be it. You can also, as long as there's 3 of a kind, you can also steal one of their tiles to complete your own. It's a very smart game, and my mother really wanted to make sure that all the games that we played were intellectual, and but they were fun. They were fun, and I used to think this was the weirdest little wild card. It's like a weird old man, smiley face / Voldemort. That part is a little odd, but this is Rummikub. Very, very good game. Speaking of good games, Taboo. Now, Taboo is one of the most 80s games that you can play. And what I mean by that is that in those times, that was dictated by a lot of game shows. The $1 Million Pyramid or something like that, where you have so long to answer questions or ask questions, and the other person has so long to answer them. So it's 60 seconds. You go in teams of 2 people, and what you do is you ask them, or you tell them things, and your entire goal is to make them say this word. Now the kicker is, you can't say any of these words to describe it. So, I couldn't say, it shakes the ground, because that is 2 of the words. I can't say it. But what it encourages is going outside the box. If I said it was a wrestler in the 80s or the 90s, I would still have to elaborate. Or I could say, what causes a tsunami, perhaps. I could say something like that. And the cool thing about, or possibly the not cool thing about it, is it really tests your ability to communicate with each other. And if you have people that have, a lot of inside jokes, it's difficult to beat people like that. So that's Earthquake. Walt Disney, so I grew up in Florida, so I could have just said, where we used to go to vacation, and someone would get it. So a little, and then you could say, oh, this is a Marvel movie with a guy who got bit by something, and I'm assuming they would say spider. I'm not touching that one, especially if I was playing with my family. And then I grew up right on the Gulf of Mexico, so I'd probably just say the body of water that we were right next to, and hopefully someone would say, Gulf of Mexico, and then I could say what's the first word, but the whole time someone is standing, the other team or the referee, they're standing over you with this, about to it reminds me of the other game that we have in the back called Operation. I was always so anxious to play that because of the loud noises that this, buzzer makes, and just the shock, so. But this particular game has a lot of, really, really good memories for me. So I highly recommend it, but it's super, 80s, 90s style stuff back when, $1 Million Pyramid and things like the Newlywed Game and these kind of things, they were really big. It's a throwback to a really good time for some people. So, and then you have this game here, which is Boulder Dash. Now, Boulder Dash is another this game before where it's just not fun because people take winning very seriously. And I'm one of the least competitive people you'll ever meet. So for me, I want to have a lot of fun. So when it's your turn, you roll the dice, 1 through 6. If it lands on 1, you have to go with the first. If it lands on 2, second, so on and so forth. If it's 6, you get to pick and choose. So let's just say that I had a 3, and I'm gonna give you CROC, which is what the card is, and you're going to write down what you think that it means. Now, all of these answers are a little crazy. They're a little ridiculous. So it pays to be a little crazy and a little ridiculous. And the answer to CROC is actually the Committee for Rejection of Obnoxious Commercials, and it's a real thing. So sometimes it really helps. Like this bee buckle. What does bee buckle mean? Well, it means a Scottish Caribbean term for a dead rat. So it gets really fun. There's one, probably one of my favorites is the movies where they give you plots for real movies that you've never heard of. Like I'll give you the name, or I'll give you the topic, the context of the movie. Gangsters make a flop movie so they can use it as a tax write-off, but the film wins an award and becomes a hit. And then everybody would write down their answer. And then I would read all of them aloud. The real answer is Panic Button. That's the real movie. But how you get points is if you guess the right answer, you get a point. And if someone guesses your answer, you get a point. And if you guess someone else's answer, they get a point. And another one that's really fun is the obscure laws. So, like this one, in Waterbury, Colorado, it is illegal for a hairdresser to, again, people would write it down. And the correct answer is hum, whistle, or sing while working on a customer. Real laws. In Palm Springs, California, you may not walk a camel down Palm Canyon Drive between 4 and 6 p.m. Real laws. So, this is one of those that, man, if you have people that you're playing with, that they just want to have fun, they have very active imaginations, they want to have a good time, and they don't care about winning. This is honestly the coolest game that you can play. It's so much fun. But if you have people that are a little too competitive and they care a little bit too much about winning, it's not as fun. I've realized that not for every party, so just know who you're playing with. Now, some of these games are pretty big. I understand that. You have some games that are boxy, heavy, hard to carry. Sometimes you might just want to have a game that you could throw in your backpack or even your pocket and be able to break it out and still have a lot of fun. And we have those too. And my favorite is a game called Werewolf. Now, I'm actually a little embarrassed about this, but I have never lost in a game of Werewolf, and the reason why I'm embarrassed about that is because this is a game of lies and deception. And I'm not happy to admit that I've never lost a game of 30, 40 games. I'm not proud of what I've done to accumulate that record, I guarantee you. And if you are familiar with the game Werewolves Among Us, if you're familiar with the game Mafia, this is very similar. Very, very similar. So, depending on how many people you're playing with, and you can play with a pretty big crowd, you all are going to have different roles. let's say that you have, a game moderator. So someone's the game moderator. That person is going to distribute cards, and you don't know what you're going to be. You could be a villager. Villagers don't do anything. They don't have any special powers, right? Or you could be a werewolf. If you're a werewolf, every single night, after however long you want, 3 minutes or a minute, you set the rules. You have the ability to kill one person. It's a little bit like Among Us, I guess, too, as well. It's the same idea. And the werewolves win if they get to the end, and if they outnumber the other villagers. The people don't have anything. Alpha werewolf is awful because you have to say werewolf or else you automatically die. And back when I was winning everything, they gave me the alpha werewolf. But when you're hunting for a werewolf and people are freaking out because they're afraid they're gonna die next, it's not hard. It's not hard to get away with it. Add your own special role. So there's some creativity that goes on here as well. Which, to be honest, I've never actually played that particular card. So, you got villagers. Next you have a seer, who has a special ability to keep their eyes open or look up one time and see the werewolves. However, even if they see the werewolves at night, they have a problem of convincing everybody else that the werewolves are who they are, because the werewolves are just going to team up and try to convince everybody else that the seer is actually the werewolf. So it's not as easy as they make it seem. Next you have the witch, and the witch heals and can poison individuals. So if I'm the werewolf, I'm trying to take out the seer, and I'm trying to take out the witch. Now the villager and the drunk cannot use words to communicate. So if you're a werewolf, sometimes you just might not talk because you want people to think that you're the drunk. But if you only have one drunk in the group and you have 2 or 3 people acting like the drunk, then you know that some of them must be werewolves. And then you have a doctor who has the ability to bring back people. And they're not reinventing the wheel here. This is a game that has been done before, and this is a game that will be done more and more. And every single time that a new game comes out following this particular role, people love it. They love this framework. So there you have it. We have a great number of old, traditional, retro games. And then we also have some really cool ones for your next game night. So, what are you thinking? Sure. And how many guests will you be having? So, if it's 8 to 10, I'd recommend Werewolf. And I'm not supposed to say this, but it gets pretty fun if you've been drinking as well. But people's card is typically down a little bit more, so you stay sober. Everyone else is drunk, you'll win no problem. If it's just a 1 or 2, Scrabble is good. Uno, it can be good, and Battleship, of course, it's a one-on-one game anyways. But if you have more than one person, or more than 2 or 3 people, Exploding Kittens is probably my favorite. And some of their other stuff's pretty good too. They have a game where you throw burritos at each other. It's called Throw Burritos, and it's funny. The first time I ever played that, I was playing with a group of young men, and their anxiety was so high that they didn't know how this game worked, and they thought that at any point in time they could get hit by a burrito. So you have the burritos, these rubber burritos on the table, and this one young man didn't understand the rules and was so nervous, and someone threw down a burrito card, and he thought that it was just a mad dash, for whoever could get the burrito and throw it. So he stood up, grabbed a burrito, and this kid sitting literally right next to him went up and just pegged him right in the face. And I swear you could hear the slap from 3 states away. And the kid that got hit, he just goes, ow. And it was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. And what I love about these games, these retro games, these board games, unlike video games, these are about having fun. Now, I told you, don't play Monopoly if you want to be friends with a person. Some of them come with a warning, but these are bonding experiences, and I'll never forget those particular moments. Whereas if I'm playing a video game or something with somebody, it's just another day, it's just another game. There is nothing that can replace an experience like playing with one of these games. So yes, they're absurd, they're ridiculous, but they are also moments that are captured in time in your mind, and I guarantee you, you'll laugh so hard playing these, you'll cry playing these, and when these people are either gone, not a part of your life, or you just miss them, you can look at these games and remember those wonderful times. Even if they are there, even if they're right next to you, look at these games. And I'm surrounded not by games, but by memories, and honestly, beautiful memories. And that's what you're buying here. You're not just buying a game, you're buying a memory. And while they're my memories of my experiences, you can go and create your own, and it's truly a beautiful thing. $8.99 to have a memory that's going to make you smile for the rest of your life is nothing. So, well, you're absolutely welcome. You know what? If you want any of these games, just let me know. I'm gonna let you take a look around the store, think about it a little bit more, and if you want one of these, or if you want to know a little bit more about some of the games that you see out there, please let me know. Alright, take care now.